are at the, an SCYOC. Could be pronounced Skyak or Syak. Not sure which it is. Gotta go right at this intersection. Welcome to Running Fever. My name is Michael Davis, and this is a show about fitness, diet, and medicine. My goal is to live a long, healthy, happy, active life, right up to the very end. It's all about living life, and it's all about loving life and living long. And living life and loving long, too. Well, we got a new trail here. I'm doing a new video on a new trail. It's actually not my first time here. Anyway, I'm glad I'm getting video this time of year because it's beautiful. It's actually seems pretty busy out here for a Thursday afternoon, not even 3 o'clock yet. Shovel cars in the parking lot, but a couple of those people were sitting on benches right near the trailhead. So anyway, this time of year it's beautiful. You got all these leaves, you got different colors going on. So there's a lot visually happening. Everything's changing. You'll see a little more sun coming through the trees. All the animals are excited for one reason or another. Even the humans. And of course, the temperature is great. Monday was kind of humid. And it was a little warmer. It's like 83 now, something like that. Anyway, this isn't a trail per se. We started on the Carol E. Van Syak trailhead. And then it goes in, and fortunately for you and for me, I've done some research and know a little bit more about what's going on here. First of all, Monday I went left first. Came to a road. I mean, like not a trail, but a road, an actual 2-lane road where cars go by, which wouldn't have been that big a deal. But I didn't see anything on the other side of the road that indicated that the Razorback Greenway was continuing. I looked on a map today, and on the map it looks like it does continue. It goes across the road, right across the road, and keeps going. But I could not see that. I just saw trees on the other side of the road. So anyway, I got to check that out again and see what's going on there. But today I just decided to go right, and that's what I did last time. I just turned around and went back the other way. It's not that far to the road. So there's an interesting formation on that tree. Never seen anything like that. So this is not really a trail per se. There's a trailhead, but they're not calling this anything like, there's the Lake Fayetteville Trail. There's a Dean's Trail in my neighborhood. A lot of places we've been, there's always a trail name. This isn't really a trail name. It's kind of like, getting on the interstate. There's no street name, right? So this is kind of like the walking, running, cycling, or biking, depending on what you call it, with an e-bike or whatever. Interstate, it's kind of like that. This is the Razorback Regional Greenway, and I did also look online today to see that they have a website specifically for the Greenway. Tells a little bit about it, and I didn't look too much detail on it, but I was kind of wondering the other day how much distance this actually covers, and it turns out there's 40 miles of Razorback Greenway here in northwest Arkansas. Razorback, of course, because that's the mascot of University of Arkansas, which is located right in this city, main campus. All right, well, you can go different ways. Lake Fayetteville, a mile and a half. You know, that's some just natural, wild green stuff here. Anyway, we're on our way to Johnson. It's a little town on the adjacent to Fayetteville that is well known for their very sensitive police force, sensitive to speeds and speed limits in particular. So you gotta go the speed limit when you're driving through Johnson. Small town, but it's actually got its own exit. Well, I guess technically it's Johnson Mill Road exit, but I used to go through Johnson every day pretty much. Back when I lived in Fayetteville a while back. I have lived in Fayetteville, I've lived in Rogers, and I've lived in Springdale for the last 8 years. That's about as detailed as I'm going to get as far as my location is. But, yeah, I've still got this cough. You know, I've been recording episodes, even though my voice is very different. Still got a cough after over 6 weeks now. It's pretty much done, but I'm not coughing all the time, but every day I'm coughing. I think you can go back to the doc, maybe get a referral to an allergist or something like that. So anyway, we're going the other way now. Well, I could swear I went that way last time. Razorback Greenway, shopping and dining in less than a mile. Forgot where I was. Anyway, some of the things that on Monday I discovered something new about my watch. This is the Gear S3 Frontier from Samsung that I've had for several years. And, you know, there's a lot of things that I've just complained about. Oh, this doesn't do this well or whatever. Because I felt like my old watch was easier to deal with and everything was more self-evident. But it's not really that difficult. I'm just, lazy, I guess. And, reading a manual, who does that? That just doesn't make any sense, reading a manual to find out how something works. Could have gone to YouTube. That would have been easy. I've never watched a YouTube video about this watch, even though I use it every day. Probably be efficient use of time. Anyway, I discovered that there's there's little applets for like all kinds of exercise, weightlifting and cycling and probably skiing, who knows. I had to scroll through a lot of them to get to walking. I think it was alphabetical. But there was a thing that said add. Of course, now that I've added that, there's no add thing on the screen. So I don't know how you would add something to the screen. Something maybe I should find out from YouTube. I don't know. But there's a walking app, and when you press the walking icon, you get a countdown, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it starts counting your miles and your time. Traffic. That's it. So they're going for 16 minutes, and I've already gone 0.77 miles. So that's 1.8 mile per hour. A lot slower than the 3 miles per hour that I thought I had, although there was some standing around. There was some walking up to see the sign, standing around at the dead end at the road. So, yep, look at that map again. See what's going on here. But it's a beautiful day on the Razorback Greenway. So yeah, there's no trail sign or indication other than the trailhead. When you look at the map and anything else, it just says Razorback Greenway or Razorback Regional Greenway, to distinguish it, I guess, from, a Razorback Greenway that might be somewhere else. I don't know. Or not in any region whatsoever. Kind of. Or perhaps it's just to indicate that it covers an entire region. Could be the Razorback National Greenway that covered the entire country. Or could it be the Razorback Global Greenway, covered the entire world? Or could it be the, just the Razorback Greenway? It covered only, I don't know, something else. Something so general as to not be specific. And it's not even specifically general. It's really just generally general and kind of vague. So I got that going for me now. I can use that every time I go out to find out exactly, as far as these machines can be accurate anyway, how much ground I've covered, literally, in the time period that I've been exercising. Usually it's just been, just assuming that I walk 3 miles an hour and give myself 20 minutes per mile, and kind of judging it that way. I thought I need to really keep track of it. It's just, because it doesn't matter whether it's time or distance, it's really a level of what I'm doing. I don't know, maybe the speed matters, but really, if you look at the basic physics of walking and running and covering any distance, I don't think it matters. Well, it doesn't matter running versus walking. I think it matters whether you're riding a bicycle, because I think the bicycle would be less effort if I rode a bicycle for a mile as opposed to walking a mile. Force times distance. That's how much work I've done. Complicated by gravity. But since gravity is a constant, don't really have to worry about that. Weight times distance would be a good measure. But yeah, so doing more work when I'm heavier and less work when I'm lighter. I've been thinking about my weight and how I'm not really close to, I guess I'm most of the way to my ideal weight compared with where I was. I've covered more, I've lost more weight than I have left to lose to get to that point. And last time I got to the 10-mile marker, I did not get to the 11-mile marker. So that will be an indication. We're at almost a mile. Walked almost a mile today, including the retracing. Good Lord. Can't believe how many bicycles I've seen today. I mean,
21 minutes, 35 seconds. Completed 1 mile. Heart rate, 92 beats per minute.
well, hopefully you heard some of that. So yeah, there were some interesting audio statistics there coming from the watch. So I'm just discovering all sorts of new things about my watch several years after I bought it. You know, because I've lost over 60 pounds, 70 on some days, depending on where I am, I get kind of complacent. And I've been in this range of 210 to 220 for many months now. And part of me is kind of tired of it. Part of me just kind of looks in the mirror and says, you know, you look a lot better than you used to. I feel a lot better than I used to. But not realizing or understanding that there's much more to be gained by losing, if that makes any sense. But I've been wanting to exercise because, you know, there's been a few days when I've been kind of a little bit down, especially in the evenings. And there have been times when I haven't been sleeping that well. And I know those things can be improved by exercise. It improves my mood, improves my ability to sleep. And so I've been really desiring to get more exercise, and it's just really hard to overcome that inertia, which I think I talked about in the last episode. And we're leaving Johnson, I guess, and going into Fayetteville. I think on the other side of this bridge, there's a sign that says, "Welcome to Johnson," or something like that. And though I looked on the map, I did not find a name for this creek. And on Monday, I saw somebody fishing in it. So it's like a legit creek. It's not just some puddle. Welcome to Johnson, a very faded out Johnson. So this is No Name Creek along the No Name Trail, Razorback Greenway, the Johnson Fayetteville Trail on the Razorback Greenway at Carol E. Van Syak Trailhead, etc., etc. So now this is the third time I've walked in 8 days. Went for a walk last Thursday. It's pretty good. Didn't really do anything over the weekend, and then went out Monday on this trail. And I haven't been doing a lot of mowing, which is, I usually get my at least bi-weekly exercise from that. Well, it's getting the time of year when I don't have to mow much. I think I may have one more before winter proper. The idea, of course, is to beat your neighbors, right? So right now, both my neighbors on the other side of me have grass that is lower and more even than me because they've mowed since the last time I mowed. But my strategy is to wait as late as possible, hopefully when there's more brown in the yard than there is green, and cut it down as short as I can get it. and then I will surge to the winning position. Not that I've ever been really competitive about landscaping or anything like that. Certainly don't enjoy it enough to spend a lot of time on it. But mowing is okay. But I haven't had that in the last few weeks. So it's good that I'm getting out and intentionally doing something in hopes of getting to a more regular schedule of various forms of exercise. I get some resistance training in there, stay strong. One of my guilty pleasures is kind of looking at people who have won these big, huge jackpot lotteries, or lottery jackpots. And just watching videos about that. Wasting my time on YouTube, of course, not like you are. Right now, you're, of course, spending it in very productive research and entertainment. But more as a pure guilty pleasure. And there's a guy who has a channel that he actually won a lottery back in 1999. And now he does YouTube videos about, and a podcast about, lottery dreams and whatever. And talks a lot about manifestation, which I don't really necessarily believe. It's kind of the theory behind, you ever heard that movie and book, The Secret? Made a big splash a bunch of years ago, and the idea is nothing new. It's been around for centuries. Some people call it visualization. Manifestation means to actually make something happen. But anyway, talks about that kind of stuff. I'm not sure I buy into that, but anyway, he won the lottery when he was 21, and he was a gas station attendant at the time. Probably worked in a convenience store in 1999. You don't really call them gas station attendants, but I guess it sounds more romantic that way. And his bio says he immediately retired, as if that was his career. I don't know, maybe it was, but and he went to college. He got a film degree, and he made some films, and then I don't know what he did after that, because YouTube really wasn't a thing back then, but eventually he made his way to YouTube, and so that was allowed him to do what he wanted to do. And it's good that he's doing something. In TV and movies, it's all like, I'm getting this big score, and then I'm gonna, be sipping drinks on the beach for the rest of my life. Can you imagine how boring that would be? Just thinking about that today. I mean, how boring is that? What kind of purpose is that? I don't think I would live very long. I don't think I would live very long because I'd have no purpose in life. So, it's more about freedom. And I saw an interview with this guy. That he did, and I watched it last night, a little bit today, and He was in somewhere in England, and he won 107 million pounds on it. Basically the lottery that covers all of Europe. Kind of like our big multi-state lotteries here. And he, in addition to talking about this manifestation thing that is kind of a theme on this guy's channel, he said he stays really busy, and he had this vision of what he wanted, and he knew he needed a lot of money to do it. He was, it's some kind of wildlife preserve or something like that. I didn't really find out exactly what it is. Maybe I can look into some more research on the guy, but he basically has some kind of farm in some old manor home that he's refurbishing, but he's been working on that. And actually working for, at the time it was 9 years. But that was what he had envisioned, and at least in his mind, that was a worthy thing to do. I've got some worthy things that I want to do. It's not really an all-encompassing sort of idea like that. But he did say, you can't, solve world hunger, even with 100 million. Still not really enough. 1.58 miles, 35 minutes. Still feeling pretty good today. I'm not going that fast. Let's see, 2.2 miles an hour. So it's going up now that I'm on a consistent pace here, consistent cadence. So, it kind of got me thinking, do I have a big idea that would impact society in a positive way? I kind of think this podcast network, along with radio, can have a big impact. Maybe not on the entire Earth, or the entire universe, but maybe in the entire state, maybe in a slice of the world via the world connected by internet. I think can make a difference. And I don't think it would take 100 million pounds or dollars to do that. So there's that. I've also been reading about all the headaches that come with this wealth, and initially I thought, well, it's really just going to make things a lot easier because you always have enough money to do whatever, including being generous with whatever it is, your church, poor, hungry, maybe homeless people in your area, even outside the area, whatever generosity you want. It's easier, some might say it's not as generous when you have more to give, but that it's not a sacrifice. So, but, you could do that without worrying about, well, if I give a couple thousand here, am I going to be eating cat food one day when I'm retired or whatever? I don't have to worry about that stuff. But I don't know, the more I hear about it, the more it's like things get much more complicated, the more money you have. I might think, to heck with it, I don't care about taxes. Actually, I'm going to turn around because It's going to turn out to be a lot of miles here. More than 3.5 miles today if we probably. I'm almost 40 minutes into it, so that's a pretty good day if I make it back alive. They're saying, you have opportunities to make more money by investments that aren't available to the individual low volume investor, and you have higher taxes, and you're gonna, the way they phrase it is like, even if you, just want to give this money away, there are ways to give more when you do that by avoiding taxes. Anyway, part of me saying, is it really worth all that hassle? Or if I won the lottery, what if I just went down to the office, said, okay, here it is, here's my bank information, put it all into my money market account or checking account or whatever, and just moving on from there, I might, do my own taxes. Why would I have to do anything different? I'm still, if I can't invest a lot of money the way I have been, well, it'll just be in savings, Not like I'm going to run out. And, you hear stories about these rich people paying a very low percentage in taxes and stuff like that, just because of how they're structured and the people they have working on that. Like, why sweat greater income and lower taxes? Don't get me wrong, I don't like paying taxes any more than anybody else does. And I certainly am not going to like paying 40% of my income to the government, but or more, depending on who's in office. But why worry about it? Why not just put it all in your bank and go from there? You've got gift taxes that you pay. There's a generation skipping tax if you give to, if you skip a generation in your giving, give it to your grandchild or nephew or whatever. There's all this different stuff that you can optimize and do different ways if you hire enough lawyers and accountants to do it all. But if you just really didn't want to deal with all that, why couldn't you just put it in the bank and do what you would normally do anyway, and not worry about, making the most amount possible for that? So, is it worth it? When I hear this guy who won the lottery in Europe, or in the UK actually, he lives in the UK. He's talking about how, it took him so long to get his will, and people were telling him, you can't do anything else. Can I just go have fun and not just work all the time? No, you got to do this will thing and got to get this sorted out now that you actually have some money. Which reminds me, I'm 59 years old. I don't have a will, which is stupid. But I often tell people, I'm pretty intelligent, but I'm not that smart. So you got to do that. You got to make sure that all these people you hire are honest and you can trust them. And, you have to hire, accounting firms to audit each other. And anyway, go through pleasure.
22 minutes 44 seconds per mile. Duration 44 minutes 19 seconds. You've completed 2 miles. Heart rate 132 beats per minute.
You know, I'm doing pretty good today according to the voice on my watch. I'm at 2. Did she say 2.2 miles per hour, something like that? So it's, it's going up. Let's see. It says 1.7. Anyway, keeps changing. I'm doing okay, and I think as you're listening to this, I just want you to know the role that you play in my life. It's a motivational experience. It's hard to believe that I've been talking for 45 minutes straight. By the time you get this, it'll be less than that, but I'm just not the kind of guy who does a lot of talking, but I've been out here on my own, just talking to you, and things just keep coming up that I want to talk about. So it's the magic of this art form, if you want to call it that. I think that's what they call it, artists. They have media that they work with. This is a form of media. I don't have to do what I do with the studio episodes, which is go out and do a lot of research, get a bunch of facts together, try to relate them in a meaningful way, and go in the studio with a script, which I've been doing a lot of over the last few years. In the beginning, it was just this, and I was walking every day, so I would record an episode every single day, and then I would put them out twice a week, which was good because I was out for probably 6 weeks because of a knee injury. Things like that happen. So it's always good to have more episodes than you need. But it still works today, I think. You can tell me what you think about these live, unscripted episodes. Put something in the comments. Yeah, the front way. You're going too fast. Picking up bugs.
Yeah.
And this goes to the mall. People walk for the mall. Yeah, I like Fayetteville. Might be interesting to sort of go that way. I'm not sure how they get to Lake Fayetteville from here. It's got to be kind of a long walk, but he says 1.5 miles. I'd have to walk that back. Although I used to walk 5.5 miles around Lake Fayetteville, so that'd be worth the trip one of these days. I kind of like this trail. Anyway, let me know, do you like these live unscripted episodes? Put something in the comments. You can comment on YouTube, of course. You can also comment on the blog post, which will be at runningfever.com/whatever episode this is. I can't even remember. Honestly, I don't know what episode it is because I didn't look at what was the next number coming up. I've got all these folders on my computer for various episodes and various stages of production. But anyway, you can always go to runningfever.com and you can make comments on the blog post. And if it's a new blog post, it'll be on the front page. So you'll be able to find it there. And probably the title will be Carol E. Van Syak Trailhead. Talking about having lots of money. I don't know, I think some of the people are doing good things with their money. A lot of, I'd take Elon Musk, for example, richest man in the world as of today, over $400 billion. He's a businessman. But he also wants to make, space profitable, and I think he has. And he eventually wants to go to Mars, and he even said he wanted to live on Mars. Is that a worthwhile thing to do when people are starving on Earth? Well, again, probably even with hundreds of billions of dollars, you still couldn't solve world hunger. It's just a bigger problem than that. And there's all kinds of problems. There is that problem, and you can help by, donating to your local food bank or actually taking food to people. I think you can, Meals on Wheels and stuff like that, volunteering at the food bank. And there are all kinds of organizations that help people that are hungry. There's a lot of ways you can do that. If that's what you want to do with your life. But if you're really good at business and making things self-sustainable, wouldn't you want that person doing that? Taking care of the large, long-term issues. And, I think Elon and Jeff Bezos and some of the people like that are doing it, there is a burden, again, with that, at that point when you're working on that scale, taking previously unprofitable areas that are going to be unprofitable for years in some cases, and trying to make them profitable so they can be sustainable. If it's just a charity, you're going to be limited to what you can do, But if it's actually making money, then it can continue. That's what they call a corporation. From the word corpus, I think, meaning body or something like that. They go on beyond the lives of the original owners. So, some people may think it frivolous, but I think it's good to have people working on that long-term solution for humanity. Of course, maybe the AIs will take over and we don't have to worry about our future because it won't be existing anymore. Kind of strange. I often look at technology and wish for the days of less technology. Why? Because, if you have an automated radio station or one that just goes from a network, I don't get to, sit in a studio and get paid a tiny amount to do it and, play records and talk to people all day, I would love to do that. Did it in college. But just that job doesn't exist anymore. Stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff like that. It's worthwhile doing, but then it becomes, because the technology has made everything so cheap, it becomes not viable. Financially, can't do it, can't afford to do it. People like riding horses, now, you have to, it used to be a daily part, it's people depended on horses for transportation. Now it's a recreational activity and not for the poor or anybody who might have rode a horse in the past, just because, they had to get through life or whatever, but you still can enjoy it. Walking, I realize there are parts of the world where people can still be in a neighborhood and walk to everything they need. Church, grocery, farm, shops, meetings, people, neighbors, that sort of thing. Anyway, my point is that, I sometimes lament that technology is so dependent on efficiency, financial efficiency. AI was created by humans, so it's kind of modeled after human life. So, I ask you this question and ask for you to answer it in the comments. If you were an AI, what would you do with the human race? You have become superior in intelligence and are self-sustainable using robots. Robots can do everything from mining the material that takes the metal and silicon to manufacturing the chips that are necessary and the batteries and everything that keep you alive. Robots that think of new technology, or AIs to think of new technology. If you were that AI, what would you do to humanity? You have complete control. What if we had tried to model AI after God with that in mind? God made us, and all he wants is for us to love him. That is the purpose for our creation. A machine can't love anybody. It can imitate the things people do when they love each other, but has to have a reason to do that. Would machines need companionship? Would they need human companionship? Anyway, deep thoughts today. Deep thoughts on running fever. Meanwhile, down here on Earth, I've had a pretty good workout, and it's almost 4 o'clock. And I'm going to be in the middle of rush hour, but hopefully traffic won't be too bad on the way home. And I can take a shower and relax and be much more relaxed than I would have been if I hadn't worked out. And then next week I can shoot for 3 times in a week. Almost got it. If I'd gone yesterday instead of messing around at home, that would have been 3 times in a week. But really close. Go today. I just got to go 2 more days before Wednesday ends. So good day. I like this trail. 2.73 miles, a little over an hour. 2.1 miles per hour. A lot slower, actually. Thought I was improving. And it might get up to 3 miles an hour, but didn't. Not on this trip. But again, I'm not really worried too much about it. I did the same exact amount of work. I burned the same exact amount of calories. My heart rate was 130, which is not bad. Maybe I want to get up to 140. I don't know. I haven't done that calculation lately. I've got this thing in my refrigerator. And I don't think this is the turn. No, I don't think so. Got this thing up on my refrigerator that I got from the cardiologist that printed it out for me years ago. I'm using this cardiologist for ages too, by the way. I think I went to him back in 15 years ago or something. I mean, if you're a cardiologist and you win the lottery, you just keep being a cardiologist. I think. I don't know. Then again, my doctor retired. He probably wasn't older than me. So I guess it depends on how you look. But you've invested in your career and you have a purpose that's very important in the world. But anyway, he gave me a formula to calculate based on my age what my, I forget what they call it, what your heart rate should be when you're working out and how much time you should spend at that heart rate in order to have a healthy heart. So I need to check that out, but I think 130 is pretty good. I think back then it was 144 was the goal. So I might be able to get that walking. Howdy. Maybe the more in shape I get, the lower my heart rate goes. It's kind of what I've heard. I already have a really low resting heart rate. It's around 50. It's really low. Van Syak Trailhead left. Nice big sign. 9.6 miles. I don't know why they don't have more of these markers for distance. But exiting, this is an exit from the interstate of walking, biking. And by the way, I think a question I posed on Monday that you obviously didn't hear was this. See, those people who just passed me were on regular bicycles, not e-bikes. Racing style road bikes. Which kind of goes into my answer to the question, which was, if you ride an e-bike, are you a cyclist or a biker? I think my mother said you're a cycler. But there's a guy at work, he's got a broken arm now, so I think he's driving to work now in a car, but normally he rides his e-bike to work every day, and I asked him today, are you a biker or a cyclist? And I think he might have given me an initial answer, but he came back later and he said, I'm a biker because people who ride cyclists and bikes that don't have motors on them would probably be offended with someone with a motor on their bike calling themselves a cyclist. So anyway, that's the opinion of someone who actually rides an e-bike. I don't even have one. I don't even have a regular bicycle or a non-e-bicycle. I think e-bikes might outnumber regular bicycles at this point, at least in terms of what I see on the road. I mean, I guess it allows you to do more. It allows you to get more exercise by helping you on those hills, which you could otherwise not do at all. And it allows you to, go for more areas and stuff.
1 hour 6 minutes 30 seconds. You've completed 3 miles. Heart rate 150 beats per minute.
Wow, okay, so that's 150 beats per minute, and I've completed 3 miles. I knew I would get to 3, probably 3.5 today. I hope you heard that. I put my watch up to the microphone so you could hear it. Pretty cool feature that I just discovered. So anyway, what do you think? Tell me in the comments. I really asked for a lot of comments today. You might want to go back and listen and write down all the questions I asked for the comments. I think the most interesting question was, if you were an AI, what would you do with the human race? That's the one I'm curious to know your answers to, because I haven't really thought about it before today. But there's another question for you. If you ride an e-bike, are you a biker or a cyclist? buddy. So I think I'm definitely in the realm now of a good workout heart rate, because I'm now at 150, which is probably quite a bit higher than I need to be. I figure the rate probably goes down as you get older, and as it was 144 a few years ago, probably lower now. Maybe I'll find out for next time. I might ought to do as much research for these live, unscripted episodes than I do for the studio ones. Coming up back on the trailhead. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. I sure did. I'm glad I came back out here again after coming Monday. And, hopefully we got a more or less complete episode this time. That breeze feels good. So anyway, as we finish up today's walk, be sure to go back and give me some comments based on the questions that I asked. I'd really like to have your input on that. Do you like these live episodes? What would you do if you were an AI? What would you do with the human race? And if you have an e-bike and you ride an e-bike, are you a biker or a cyclist? Answer those questions for me. Thank you for doing that. And probably everybody listening has already got the fever, but if you do, certainly keep it burning. If you don't have the fever, catch the fever. And I will see you next time on Running a Fever.